plug right there, I'm imagining, will lead into the interior of the car. So rather than drilling a hole in the firewall, I'll pop that out. Go inside and see what I just poked. So as expected, it came out just to the outboard side of the brake pedal, up high on the firewall. So I'm going to route my cable through there. See where that's going on the inside. So there's that red cable coming out of the firewall, and the question is how best to route it to the back of the car. I'm thinking get the cable to the center and then route it underneath that portion of the console, and then P-clip it down to the tunnel and then up into the battery box. My other option would be to take it and run it around this rail, but that just adds a lot more to the distance, and distance is resistance, not a good thing. So what did I end up with here? And a P-clip down there, and I've nicely routed it behind that little clip. The pedal does not hit it, and then it goes in next to the shifting mechanism. Comes out and gets captured with a P-clip there, and then another P-clip that's on it, and that one's put in, by the way, with a self-tapping screw, as was the other one. And then I had to enlarge the mounting holes for the P-clip, but was able to get it over that existing stud. And next we'll move, well actually next we're going to pick a grommet and deal with under the hood. So this was the grommet that was in there, and I went to my selection of grommets. This one's too big, that one's too small, as is that one, so that one appears to be pretty darn close. The two kind of lined up side by side. So we'll take it and we'll run it over the end of the cable and then press it into that opening there, and that will shield from the outside, or shield the outside of the cable. So battery boxes appear to only come in one size, and that's giant for marine duty. I've got a much smaller battery. There is a partition that will slide in here to close that off, but what's really going to be holding the battery in place are this hardware here. So what I've done is place the battery where I want it here, and I've tried to center on this pad. Hopefully you can see that from there. And then the box will fit around that, and I'll drill the box to go through afterwards. So I've already punched through here where I want this. This is 5/16. It hopefully holds it up from the bottom. We'll worry about that later. Alright, my hope is that this will come up from the bottom. I'm going to climb underneath and see. Alright, so it's come up. I should be able to work it from up here. that's all right. So now I need to mark for the second hole. Right up next to it. So this is getting a nut with Loctite on that end, and I'll just pull it back through. So the bolts are, we'll call it 6 7/8 apart. So translate that to the box, which is going to sit about there. Well, about there as in apart. So the hole is going to be drilled roughly in line with where that comes in, or right there. So the whole thing is 7.5. We round 6 7/8 up to 7. It's about 1/4 of an inch in from each side. So it's pretty darn close to the edges. 6 7/8. So we're going to have to drill right against the wall. That's going to be tough. The other thing I didn't think about was those guys. Well, crap. All right, let me put the washer and nut on the back side, and then I'll bring you back when I come back to deal with this top side and those extended fingers. So in order to get this to clear here, there, what I'm going to do is measure in the distance that the holes are placed, and that will tell me where, right outside of this flange piece, this angle piece, the screw comes, and then I will clear out by cutting down here a slot or a groove for this part to drop down in. And I've got the battery here so I know how far it has to drop. So I'll measure that first. So it looks like we're going down a little over an inch. So we'll call it 1 1/8 inches in depth. And I measured previously, and we're 5 inches in when this is sitting in place. So if that is centered, then my cut will be right here. I guess I can tape it to the side to get it to stay up. All right, hopefully I can pull this one up a little bit, because right now it's not pushing through far enough. I'm going to go underneath and see if I've got any slack under there. If not, then I'll have to replace that with another stud. So what I ended up doing is starting this side first with the top piece at an angle so that I got more play, and now that I can have it on. Alright, so the threads are through there. And I'm going to cut this one off with an off wheel. Alright, at this point I should still be able to, in the future, turn the nut off and spin it past any disturbed threads that are on there. Nice and snug. All right, eye protection back on. And we'll cut it again. There we go. Made a little mess with the edge of the box. That's okay. So this will drop in there, form a separation here. And then once we have the connections on, that snaps into place. And I got vents there, so that worked out. Now we're going to go under the hood again and rig up the new switch. So you can see right there, I mounted a new switch on one of the holes with the hardware that used to mount the battery tray. So that worked out nicely. Now what I'm going to do is disconnect the fittings from these clamps from the end of the positive and the negative. Looks like it's a 7/16. So this is what we have to put on here, these battery lugs. And they're designed to be crimped and or soldered, and I don't have a big enough soldering iron. So both these will have red on them because they're positive coming through. So I'm going to work with this one first. First get a wire brush and clean that off. All those get shoved in. Crap. Heat shrink. Should be lucky that other one didn't go on. This one clamps onto there with this hardware. Alright. Closed, open. There. You have it. We've got, I guess I'm going to zip tie these together here just to give some added rigidity. As I said, those are double zip tied to that. They're not going anywhere. That's double zip tied to that bracket. It's not going anywhere. So I'm going to zip tie those together. It should do a good job. And this will just close or open. So now I'll go back after I zip tie those and work at the battery box, terminating it. I'm going to add some more P-clips. And I decided I'm going to pre-drill these holes instead of using the self-tapping because they were just grinding the tip away. To bring this in with the terminal right there so we can cut it off there and then strip back. The new ground cable, it's got that kind of terminal end. Run it through a bolt. I'm going to clear all the paint and primer off of that spot so that it can ground, and then it's just going to run right up to the battery. When I touched the end of that ground to the cleared off spot on the body, it sparked even though this connector was open. And what's happening is that the washer on that bolt is touching the contact that's connected to the back, so it's a short and I need to get rid of it. I remove the washer. There we go. So that flanged bolt head will suffice for holding that in place. That's what went over top of the terminals inside. So there is the negative. We're connected up there, and I'll just put the lid on, and that will be good to go.